Hello and welcome to this video. This is round 9 coverage of Tata Steel 2016. First of all, this video will be a little bit shorter than the usual round recaps because I have to do something real urgently here, and I just find the time to do this video and keep the coverage up. But not much more time than I can invest in this video now. Okay, let's be quick about it. If you have not yet seen the results in games, you'll still feel informed afterwards. Okay, what do we have? We have Wely versus Wesley. So, Wely had a win against Hou Yifan earlier round, so should be happy that he's got on the scoreboard with the win. And Wesley So is a real rock here, all draws and one win against Giri. We've got a Rogozin, and this line here with the check on a4 is something that has been discussed on top level in recent years, especially last year when Carlsen used this line to beat Aronian. So he is playing much more aggressively than Aronian with a quick g5, gearing towards kingside play, and they both set up their pieces in some aggressive way. White on the queen side, black on the king side, and the real amazing thing about this game is that here it ended in a draw. So here black Wesley So it seems offered a draw, and Wely accepted. A very surprising end to the game, and it's good that it's a surprising end because nowadays you don't see that so often, that they agree a draw in the middle of a complicated position. Wijk does not have any anti-draw rule. I guess the organizers are probably not that happy with this kind of draw, but I'm not sure what's happening here behind the scenes. Maybe one of the players didn't feel well or anything like that. Usually you cannot blame both of the players for lack of fighting spirit, so it's not like we have to complete bores sitting there doing nothing, making a draw. Not sure. It's a bit of an unfinished story, this game, let's say. We have Mamedyarov Dingley Ren, and this was a very long theoretical duel in a semi-Slav. White goes for e3, and the line played here has been seen a lot over the last, let's say, 10-15 years. This a3 line got popular, and here we have an interesting position where black is a pawn up but has a lack in development and a weak queenside structure. The question is here, can white win back that pawn while maintaining some kind of pressure? And in the game here, black was playing in a very principled way, putting the bishop on b4, play c5, and around here the critical moment is of this game, I think, where white needs to search for an improvement in order to get something, keep something. The bishop b5 check that Mamedyarov played here, I think after king e7, is probably leading to nothing. Here white does not have much better than taking, and after capturing on f3 and queen to d5, due to the threat queen f3, we have a queen trade. And here we already see that we will probably get a complete liquidation of forces. The whole queen side will be traded down. This is what happened here. Bishop c6 and takes. That looks a little bit, like a little bit poor, this kind of way of playing, just take everything. But white is risking to be worse as the black king is near the action. And I think if white has a clear way to draw, he is probably not unhappy to take it. Here they agreed to a draw. Not very exciting, but I can't have those exciting games all of the time. Very theoretical game, probably somewhere around 17, move 18. There have to be improvements for white, otherwise this is fizzling out to a draw, just like that. Okay, next game to check is Tomashevsky Hou Yifan. That was a Nimzo Indian, and the Nimzo Indian Rubinstein. This is the line that Hou Yifan is going for, arguably maybe the main line of the e3 Nimzo nowadays, so-called Karpov variation. Black is shooting for the pawn structure that is happening in the game, with black capturing here and playing now against this pawn duo. This is not strictly speaking hanging pawns. It is only called hanging pawns in case of pawns being on d4 and c4 on those neighboring squares, so that they are both not protected. Here the d4 pawn is actually protected, and this is a slightly different story. White played knight to d2, rook c1, and f3. This is a somewhat unconventional, at least in my book, setup here against the black line, but something that Tomashevsky has used earlier in a game against Alex Landem in 2014. So nothing new to him. Hou Yifan played this interestingly with e5. That doesn't look terribly logical. Open up against the bishops, but black is trying to play quickly in the center and try to do something here with rook against queen. This is an interesting decision by Tomashevsky. He gives up his bishop pair, but gets this pawn advanced. And this position and now the whole game is quite interesting. There is this weakness and there's this weakness. And the question is, do they kind of cancel each other out, or is one side having an advantage? If anybody is better, I think it must be white here, because this is easier to attack than c4, and you still have the passer on the d file. So I think white is probably slightly better. In the game, it was interesting to see Tomashevsky invaded with the queen, but it was traded.
Check.
And around here, can go ahead a couple of moves till exactly here. I am not sure if white has many opportunities here to make some substantial progress. You have attacked e5, but it's tough to increase the pressure, while black has the knight on d7 defending e5 and b6, and black, if possible, maybe will regroup his rook also, or her rook in this case. It doesn't look very dangerous, let's say, for black, but now she goes for something pretty drastic, giving up the e5 pawn for the a4 pawn. And I'm reasonably sure that this is a risky decision and something that maybe could have hurt her. This happened, and here I think there was an improvement for Tomashevsky. The computer gives rook a4, a mysterious looking move, but it has some points. The idea is to cover this reliably, and then maybe try to go up with the king in one of those ways, then maybe regroup the knight to e3. If that is possible, I think white will be better. For example, if we look at a line like that, where black is coming around with the rook, like this, and now this and this, here white is definitely better. Tomashevsky could have gotten something similar in the game a little bit later. In this position, he went rook e3. I think after that, black has enough to draw, but king e3, intending to invade, was still very interesting. And here white, I think, is better. Not sure that he can do something decisive, but he keeps an advantage. After this, rook c8, d6, and now rook e8. This is enough. Yeah, black is giving up this pawn, but her counterplay is strong enough.
Check.
Also note the opposite colored bishops. This is very important. A pure bishop ending is a dead draw. And this position already is pretty dead. There's nothing happening here. Black is getting this back easily. And with the opposite colored bishops, nothing going on. There's also this one, of course. So, absolutely, fine position now for Hou Yifan and a draw. Yeah, I think she's probably glad that she stopped the bad streak. Yeah, she had 2 losses before. Okay, next game I want to look at is Eljanov Giri, which is Catalan. Yeah, Giri, okay, he's also capable of playing the Grunfeld and other openings, but if you would have let me bet on this being a Catalan, I think I would have agreed. Yeah, the Catalans seem very likely, as This is what Eljanov is playing a lot. Yeah, here he's playing the knight a3 line. This is not happening so often. It's a pure pawn sacrifice. After this, white is a full pawn down, and he's not going to get it back so quickly. However, we have seen those kind of pawn sacrifices a lot in the Grunfeld, and the Catalan is nothing else than a Grunfeld with colors reversed in a way. Yeah? White is playing the fianchetto, d4, c4. White is playing a Grunfeld in a way. It's also probably why the Catalan is such a popular opening. Always have that good bishop on g2. Okay, in this game, however, it doesn't look like, if we go ahead a couple of moves, that white is getting full compensation. After bishop d6, there have been games with e3, which I think actually looks like compensation. Yeah, something like this, for example, is definitely some play for white with jumps here, and yeah, the really much better activity. But after what he played, what Eljanov played, I think this is starting to look a little bit, yeah, it doesn't look like enough. Here d takes e5, knight e5 already loses for white, so that wasn't possible. And yeah, Eljanov had to settle for this kind of situation. He cannot take here. I mean, okay, he can, but it's completely, yeah, it's not very attractive. This is what he tried, and now taking the knight. Yeah, here black is really just a pawn up. It's just like that, and it's not clear to me if this is still somewhat defensible for white or if black should win. The way it turned out in the game, white got queens traded and activated his rook, and there is some activity there against b7, and the bishop is not a bad piece at all. But is it still that black can not win? Yeah, we'll see. Rook e8, rook d1, g6, all look like normal strengthening moves. Rook to e6. Yeah, black is stopping g5, and white is trying to get it in. One thing I'm pretty sure of is that the next couple of moves don't help black. He played rook e5, and after rook c5 traded. And I think that here black's winning chances are relatively slim. So maybe around here some improvement can be tried. I mean, this is what the engine wants to play. Rook to d6 and then possibly rook to d4 if circumstances are right. For example, I mean, you shouldn't blunder the b-pawn, but this is what the comp wants to do. The problem with what happened in the game is that now the counterplay against b7 is pretty relevant. After rook c7, I think it is a draw, what Giri played. Maybe king to g7 was a little bit tougher, just keeping things as they are. If white, for example, now comes near with a king, like this, and still it's not clear if black can win. This is, however, a clear try. In the game, after rook d3, knight to d7, rook d6, knight takes, and rook b6, that was forced. It turns out that black has no way forward. Yeah, those two pieces have to stay in order to keep the b-pawn protected, and the way the rook is positioned, the black king can also not activate. And we had a couple of more moves. Yeah, I mean, the king activated to c3, but it's not really that relevant. Yeah, and now we are shuffling around, and the draw is pretty much unavoidable. Yeah, a game where you feel like Giri should have somehow gotten more out of it, but it wasn't super apparent. There were one or two moments that I have shown, but I couldn't dig any deeper and tell you with absolute certainty what was going on. Okay, the next game I want to check is Caruana Karjakin, Battle of the Cars. Yeah, we have a Berlin. with d3, however, and we'll see that it will get kind of interesting. That structure here, it's funny, by the way, that there was a completely identical position in the game Wei Yi Navara. This is a game that we will check later. So they had precisely the same position. Okay, what white is going for here in this line is he is flexible with his castling rights. In some cases, white might castle long. This has actually happened that happened in the Wei Yi Navara game. Here in Caruana Karjakin, white also advanced the h-pawn and castled long. But yeah, we'll see how the difference is. I don't want to spoil any of the other game. Yeah, black has regrouped his knight here, which is often a good idea because those squares can be good for the knight. c5 to block in the center and queen to to f1, possibly activating it later, like with g3 and f4 can be an idea. Yeah, knight is maneuvered over here, and black felt inclined to take it. Understandable. Yeah, it's a very annoying piece. However, this structure looks to be a little bit more comfortable for white because, yeah, like this and this e4 square looks very promising for white. Yeah, white has control over that square. The issue here is that this is all nice and good, but how do you ever open up the position? This is very difficult to do. It is very closed. We see an interesting development here. Black was piling up on the d3 pawn, and it's quite interesting. Caruana is absolutely not minding to offer that pawn, and in fact here Karjakin took it. I think this is an okay decision. However, we see that there was an idea with knight e4. That c5 pawn is attacked, and of course the rook is attacked. So black has to do something, something concrete now. And I feel that Karjakin's choice now is probably a bit risky, at least. Maybe it's also objectively not the best, even though that was very tough to spot. He's playing the move c4, and I think that this leads to difficult play. Maybe rook e to d8 was a simpler solution. Yeah, okay. Why is that leading to difficult play? The move b4 all of a sudden hits, and yeah, now white gets some pretty substantial space on the queen side. Black goes back to c6. And now a4. Yeah, white is a pawn down, but the d3 pawn is very tough to keep, and in the remaining structure is good for white. Knight on e4 is strong, and he's got, as I said, big space on the queen side. Black always had the opportunity to play the move b6 here also, preventing a5, but he never did. It was an idea, certainly. This, and now b6, for example, to make sure that a5 is not coming. In the game, after king to g8, white played a5 himself. And this is a little bit critical. It really is. There are a couple of ideas for white. One very simple idea is to just go here with the king and take the pawn back, play that minor piece ending. Not very comfortable because black has no space and white has better pieces. Or white can try to get the pawn back with f3, knight f2, and then take it. In both cases, white is certainly better. What black did now is to break out. Yeah, don't stay passive. Played the move b6. Yeah, understandable decision, but still white is better here. Takes. And here rook a1 was played by Caruana. It's a good move. That's a good move. Taking is less testing, even though it was possible for sure. After something like rook b8, bishop to c7, here, and a5. White is also better, but I think the game is actually an improvement over that. That rook a1 move directly attacking a6. yeah, d2. Black is just yeah, giving up that pawn and drive the knight back a little bit. Something like a5, b5 is losing straight away with white being able to capture there. So d2, knight takes, and a5. Yeah, there were two pawns hanging, so you have to move one of them. b5 and c4. And this position looks excellent, really excellent. This is weak. White king is better, pieces are better. It looks excellent for white. Knight c8 back, had to cover b6. Yeah, and here, with some precision, I think Caruana could have won the game. The key move is the move f3, just passing a little bit and making a slight improvement move. Problem is that black has a hard time now to find any decent move. Yeah, waiting moves like this, for example, can easily be punished. And white wins, yeah, with the fork on f6. What is there? You cannot move this. And if you move the bishop back, there's knight c3, d5. So f3 would have been very good for white, really very good for white. It just waits for one moment, and whatever black is doing, it's kind of a Zugzwang. Whatever black is doing will harm his position. So rook d1 was ultimately played by Caruana, but this does not seem to be enough. Takes. I think here is the final position where I think there's some room for improvement or to try harder. F4 is interesting here, even though it's not clear that it leads to much. Yeah, the idea is to take and then use the 3 against 2 for promotion, but black probably will take.
Check.
Play the king back. This does not seem to be a flat-out win, even though white still retains winning chances. In the game... Oh, come on. Okay. In the game after... Is that the position? In the game after f3, black was able to take and trade everything down, and knight d6 is just about equalizing, but it does equalize.
Check.
Yeah, white is starting to take things there, the pawns, but black has exactly the counterplay that he needs here to invade and trade everything down. Yeah, that's a little joke. Bishop h6, and now they agree to a draw. Yeah, there were chances here for Caruana, definitely. I mean, not something, yeah, super obvious or anything like that, but there were opportunities, and they weren't fully used. Okay, the next game I want to look at. We only have 2 left, right? I really was quicker than usual, but I really have to. I'm sorry. Next game to check is Carlsen Adams. Yeah, Mickey Adams is having a really bad tournament, not scoring well at all. He's on -3, I believe, before the round. And he's also one of those players who's got a terrible score against Magnus Carlsen. He lost a ton, and I don't think he ever won a game. Maybe when Carlsen was a kid or something, but I don't remember. I always remember like that he's getting crushed in various ways. So let's see what happened today. Okay, so Carlsen is going back to 1e4, and we have an Italian game. Yeah, not one of Carlsen's main openings, but he sometimes plays it as a substitute for the Rui. And got this here with d3, c3, the normal line, let's say. Interesting is that Carlsen, around here already on move 7, spent like 15 minutes. He's really playing chess early on. And yeah, Adams now played a5. there was the threat of winning the bishop with before, so he had to do something. a6, however, is the more conventional way to play it. Yeah, knight a3, that idea was probably borrowed from Wesley So in an earlier round against Mamedyarov. I think that all this looks fairly, not normal. The knight on c2 is something unusual, but pretty slowish kind of opening. Yeah, we've got those bishops will get traded, but this a4, a5 allowed white here to avoid the trade of this bishop. Yeah, ultimately it has to go, but now white has a little bit more share of the center, as d4 is a possibility, and for black it's difficult to do. White also got to f5 here, which is kind of useful. No d4. Yeah, grabbing space. We come to a critical position around here after d4 takes knight d4. Here Adams actually could have taken the pawn. That wasn't impossible, and maybe he should have done so. After rook takes, knight takes, queen g4, queen g4, and knight g5. Black seems to be okay. There does not seem to be anything terrible happening to him. There is h4, but after knight takes, knight back, check, and king f8, things don't look so bad. Yeah, it's material equality, and something like this and this, there's not much going on. This was a, I think, important opportunity for Adams, grabbing that pawn. The thing is, after taking this pawn and it gets traded for the h-pawn, there is no more strategic danger anymore in this position for black, because his space disadvantage is defined by that pawn on e4. That there's a pawn on e4 against a pawn on d6. If you can get rid of the e4 pawn, that strategic problem is completely gone. So not taking this is probably a mistake. Now white has a little something. Yeah, he's got that superiority in the center. He's got f4 coming, and black now has played the move c6, and this seems to be questionable, I think, as d6 really gets weak. I wasn't sure why this was played actually. It does not seem very necessary. Quite often you feel inclined to play the move c6 because there's a knight possibly coming to d5. But this is not around the corner in this position, as the white knights are not positions like that. So it's a bit mysterious why c6 was played. And the way it went, here Carlsen's position looks quite promising with that pressure on the d-pawn. Here black probably should have played a move like queen to b6 or rook to d7, just stay, let's say. Yeah? Important is that white taking isn't leading too much. There are all kinds of weird tactics here, but the capture is ultimately a self-pin and something that white will not like in the long run. Yeah, what he did is, I think, a mistake. He played king to h7, and now there is f4 coming. And I think it's difficult now for black to keep a satisfactory position. Probably not possible.
Check.
He gave the check and went back. White now cannot take on d6 because of the move knight to g4. This is quite annoying. Yeah, something that white wants to avoid. I mean, it's not like losing or anything, but it's absolutely not the best possible continuation. You can still play rook f1 here. Better is h3. Just keep the tension and ask black about the d6 pawn. Yeah, and by now it is very difficult to defend. Probably impossible. So this kind of moves like king h7, c6, it piled up, and now I think black is in trouble. He tried rook d7, knight d6, and now the exchange sacrifice. If we don't do that, white will play e5 and cement this knight down on d6. So exchange sac. Black is invading, but white with precise play can fend off the activity. We at the end get to a position here with white being an exchanger for a pawn, and with excellent technique it's something that white should win. However, in the game a couple of things were still kind of interesting. Yeah, Carlsen was going on a pawn hunt on the queen side, getting the material balance to something completely decisive. But in the meantime, Adams has established those two pawns. I can absolutely tell you that I would be still very much afraid to get swindled in this position because the pawns look immensely dangerous. But yeah, Carlsen made a very good job here of keeping everything under control.
Check.
There was the odd moment where he could have played better, but he never gave a winning advantage away. The A pawn was pushed. Yeah, and black is not breaking through on the king side. It looks scary, but there's really nothing going on. Yeah, b4, rook d7 was maybe a little bit more precise, but b4 also seems
Check.
to win.
Check.
Yeah, this was forced, but the resulting position is still excellent for white and probably winning. Yeah, with 3 pawns for the knight, and yeah, somehow it all goes down very smoothly now.
Check.
White's play is very easy. You just have to push the pawns. Knight d6 is not the toughest defense. It would have been a lot tougher to win against knight f6, but ultimately it will probably be a win as well. After this, check, and rook to d1. That pin is more than awkward.
Check. Check.
No, and now Adams resigned as rook e8 is impossible to stop. Or variations like that if black plays this, for example.
Check.
We'll flick in the check. And oops, come
Check.
on. Yet another check. So that was a win for the world champion. He's really in good shape now, having after played 4 draws in the first 4 rounds. He has gotten in now, is it 4 wins? Yeah, he's got 4 wins, right? 4 wins in a draw from the last 5 rounds, so excellent performance. Also a pretty typical display, I think, for Carlsen's strength. He comes from a not much happening position and slowly builds up some pressure, and if the opponent is not playing perfect defense, then quite often he gets this pressure, make it more, and make something substantial out of it in the end game. Yeah, Adams is not in good shape and somehow does not seem to handle Carlsen well at all. Okay, we just have 1 game left. Wei Yi with white against Navara. Yeah, as I already mentioned, we have the same Berlin as in the Caruana Karjakin game. Only here, Navara with bishop d6 and so on plays a bit differently. And he plays the move h6. The thing is, we have to look at this game a little bit to understand better why I'm a bit skeptical. Maybe you have to play that move, but we will see. Castles, knight b8, and rook d to g1. What white is doing here is really lining up for a super direct attack. g4, g5, and yeah, checkmate, this kind of thing. And I think here black's position is already, it's difficult to handle. What he probably has to do is to either go for something very quickly on the queen side, like b5, or to play bishop g4 to block the g4 move. This, for example, is, I think, a much better option than the game. Here, after g4, black has got knight d4, and after this, and f6, I think black can be reasonably happy here. The attacking plan that happens in the game does not work here. We'll see. Don't want to spoil it so much. Bishop g4 is also a move. Just putting this pawn, this knight on, this bishop on g4 to make sure that white is not playing g4 himself. After knight e3, queen c8. That doesn't look like a fantastic solution, but or queen d7 for that matter. But well, absolutely everything is better than what happened in the game, because after knight c6, g4, I think black is losing. I know it sounds harsh, but I think he is really losing here after g4. Navara didn't find a defense, and I cannot improve with the help of the engines. Black now is faced with the threat g5, and the only move to stop it is f6. The only problem is it's not stopping it. There's still g5 coming. It's amazing how quickly white engineered this this decisive attack after g5. Black seems to be lost. It's just like that. What is black supposed to do? Yeah, if you take with the h pawn, then h6 is coming, and after, let's say, g6, white can sacrifice him.
Check.
Just one line. There are a couple of lines, but white's attack is super strong. Yeah, he decided to take with the f pawn. That's probably the toughest. Yeah, and now just knight takes. Black plays knight to d4, winning that tempo on the queen. But no worries, white can just go back. And now he decided to grab the knight. It's difficult to give any other advice. You can try moves, for example, instead of knight d4, there also was the move b5, but white will also have a very dangerous attack by various means. White can also just take d6, but going back here or to h3 is also interesting, attacking h6. This attack is, I think, just too dangerous. Yeah, this is what happened. Bishop takes, bishop to e7, and now very calm move, bishop e3. The threat is just h6, and yeah, black doesn't really have anything that he can do against it. Yeah, if black goes g5 now, trying to stop things, then white will take.
Check.
And win like that. This is what Navara tried. He didn't have any time left, but it doesn't really matter anymore. As I said, this is a winning attack. Takes and rook takes. Yeah, we can briefly look at bishop takes, queen h5 with the idea queen h8, however, is killing. Yeah, rook takes was played, and now also just queen h5. Yeah, bishop e6. There's really not much that black can do here. The attack is too much. Bishop h6, that was the principal threat. You can also check. Something like this.
Check.
Take on e5. That also is a winning attack. But one win is enough. Bishop f7.
Check.
This is a nice little sequence of moves where stuff gets traded. You don't necessarily need to checkmate all the time.
Check.
In this position now, Navara resigned. Yeah, hanging. And that means one of them gets lost. Yeah, a very nice attacking win here by Wei Yi. It wasn't particularly difficult to spot or anything, but still a great effort or great achievement to get such a quick win in against a strong player like Navara. It's surprising how quickly it went downhill after knight to c6. Really seems that g4, g5 is unstoppable. So this is the critical position where black must improve upon, or even earlier. Maybe that setup that Karjakin played was a bit more reliable. Okay, so 2 wins in this round for Wei Yi and for Carlsen. Carlsen has extended his lead with this win. At the same time, Wei Yi got his first win in after 8 draws. very nice result for the young Chinese prodigy. Yeah, no defeat yet, and he wasn't so close to a defeat. I think there were 1 or 2 moments, but nothing like completely lost and survived. So he's doing really holding his own very nicely in that field. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a bit shorter than usual, but I hope still to have provided a good overview of what happened in round 9. Thanks for watching.